Hey there, in today's video I am just sharing some of my favorites from paint, color to mark making tools and everything in between. Well, not so many things in between, but I'm just sharing a lot of my favorite things that I've been using this year. And I would actually be very interested once you watch this, or even I'm curious about your favorites. So like, oh, I actually found this color is really interesting, you should give it a try, or this other tool or this free thing that I got in the mail that I used to make marks. I would love to hear some new ideas. So feel free at the end of this to leave a comment and let me know what your favorites are. And or if some of mine resonate with you and you're like, I never thought of that, or I enjoy using that. I would love to hear all the comments. It means a lot just knowing that you watched and that a part of it might have sparked some new creative journey for yourself. Like we go down these rabbit holes, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to try that and see what happens. And it's just, I feel like if we all share with each other, then it's like we all benefit. So, I mean, that's kind of why I share, is I want to encourage you to make art. And then when you share back tips and ideas, it always is very helpful to me as well. So another thing I wanted to mention before we get started with the video is I am now offering sessions, creative sessions on, if you go to my website, and I'll put the link below, if you want to have an hour to kind of talk creative kind of ideas or get encouraged or whatever it is, I am available for that. Or if you would like to make art for an hour, or have me show you some different techniques or tips or things that I actually use and incorporate in my own art, you can also sign up for one of those. So I have had fun. I've done a few of these already. They've been such an encouragement to me, and I have only had one kind of technical difficulty. Shout out to Doreen, who hung in there with me while I had to turn everything off and get things restarted. So hopefully that's the end of those kind of issues. But again, I think, again, recognizing that we're all human and we're all trying the best we can. But I would love to have a session with any of you who are interested. If that is something that you find yourself drawn to right now, I'm offering $10 off on that. You can see the code if you go onto my website. There's a link that you can follow to book a session. So anyway, if that's something that you're interested in, I just want to mention it because I know a lot of you aren't on my mailing list and also probably don't consider jumping over to my website. But if you do, and if you are interested, I just wanted to let you know that those are currently going on. And I think the schedule, you can schedule about a month or two out. So anyway, find a time that works for you. So without any more chit chat, let's get started with the 5 favorites. 5 favorites in a whole bunch of different categories. And oops, one more thing, because of course I always think of these things. I should make a list, right? As I was putting this together today, I realized, oh, there's probably other favorite things that you might be interested in. If you are like, oh, and I'm not thinking of them, you can suggest some other favorites if you'd like to know other favorite things that I use that I didn't include in this favorites edition. I can do another one if there's enough other categories of things that I missed or that you're interested in. So please let me know. Whew, okay, after all that, let's get on to the video. My first 5 favorites are neutral colors. This is not in any particular brand. It could be whatever. I primarily use Liquitex and Golden, but it could be anything. I'm using Heavy Body for this example, but I want to preface this favorites and the NYX favorites, non-neutrals, with this. I'm not including titanium white because I use that as this I use all the time, probably more than any other color. And I consider these other two, Titan Buff and the unbleached titanium, similar because they're like a very light value. So I kind of put them in the white category, so they're not included in this. And I want to say the same thing about blacks. So I have a whole bunch of different blacks. People have a lot of opinion about using black, not using black. I have every kind of version of black, and I use them for different reasons, and that we can go into blacks another time if people are interested. We can kind of demo the different shades of black because they are different. But I'm not including in my favorites any black or the white / creamy colors, ivory colors. So in no particular order, I'm going to sample, I'm gonna just do it so you can see what they are. It's no surprise. I initially was gonna just do my 5 favorite colors, but I realized, okay, how boring would that be? Because they're all super neutral and they're not in any particular order. So I'm gonna set them to the side and show you each one as we go. Raw umber, I use raw umber, I don't know. I can't tell you how much I use raw umber, how much I love raw umber. Adding it to all the colors, it makes every color better in my opinion because it takes away the, what do I want to say? How bright it is, because I tend to like duller colors. So, oops, the raw umber, wow, yeah, it's just, I use it so much, I can't even tell you. And all its forms and all its brands for the most part. Okay, so I don't know if that's number 1, but I'm just throwing that off. So actually, I don't know why I set that here. I put this old dictionary here so I could wipe because you know, I don't like to waste any paint on a surface that I'm not going to use again. So, and these could be collage papers. So I'll set that one, I don't even know where to set it. Okay, I'll just set it right here. Then I'm gonna try the raw sienna. Not try it, I'm gonna tell you, I love raw sienna. As a yellow, and even a kind of an orange, it's just a beautiful color. So again, these are really considered neutrals, and they are neutrals, kind of the mid values, although obviously the raw umber's dark, but then there's also the burnt sienna. And I like a burnt sienna for a different reason than, it's very similar to, I guess, the raw umber, except for it has kind of more of a reddish undertone. And I really like it for making skin tones. It is just beautiful, particularly if you mix it with white. Maybe I'll grab the white real quick and just kind of show you what I'm talking about. My tainted white, don't mock me. So if we were to mix that up, it can make a very nice skin tone. Just adding white to it. And obviously you could add you could add unbleached titanium, Titan buff, you could, you know, whatever, some kind of yellow, the raw sienna, a yellow ochre or something like that. But I use it a lot in faces when I want them to look, I guess most of my faces aren't realistic looking, but when I want it to be closer to a regular skin tone, I use the burnt sienna, and I love it, and I use it a lot. And it does make a very nice kind of pinky color as well. And for like me, I'm not drawn to those kind of colors. That's a good one. I'm gonna set these off to the side. I'll bring them all back if we need to. Neutral gray is another neutral favorite. It's neutral and it's gray. And it's just great, another great addition, like the raw umber. It just adds, when you mix it with other colors, it just makes a beautiful, all of these are beautiful mixed with other colors. And that's primarily why I like these neutrals. And as a lot of you know, I typically mix my colors. I don't use them straight out of the tube I do once in a while, but primarily I'm using it mixed with something else. So these are the colors, the neutrals that I'm really drawn to that I do mix in. Payne's Gray, I love it. And every brand is completely, I feel like completely different. This one happens to be Golden's. It's very navy looking. It's just a very lovely color, and I like having it in different brands because it is different. And I should have probably, if I'd been thinking, grabbed the Liquitex so you could see the difference, but this video is not about that. So here are my 5 favorite neutrals in no particular order. Raw umber, raw sienna, burnt sienna, neutral gray 5, and Payne's Gray. Okay, that's my 5 favorite neutrals. So this next favorite 5 are colors that are not, I guess, as neutral, and they're ones that I gravitate towards when I want a little bit of pop of color more frequently than others. So, and again, let's start with this one, Titan Green Pale. It's fairly light. It's fairly, I don't know, I mean, maybe you'd even consider it a neutral, but it's great. I feel like even on its own, it doesn't necessarily need to be mixed with something, but it could be. It is very light, but it can add, against a lot of my neutrals that are kind of duller, can add a little hit of color. The green gold, recently I have really been drawn to the green gold, and it's just,
I can't describe it. It can be kind of more yellow if you really scrape down, or if left thicker, it can be more of a green, kind of an olive color. It's a very unique. And then when you mix it with white, it does, well, let's see, let me grab some white here. It's really amazing. It's an amazing color. I've kind of rediscovered it lately. I've always had it, but let me add a little bit more, just so you can see my excitement around it. It's just a cool color. And so with the white, it does get a little bit more yellow, but it adds this really fun hit of color if you need that against your duller colors. It can look very, very great, I think. Very nice. All right, cobalt teal. I really liked teal, and I have besides the cobalt teal, there is like another one. I should have grabbed it as well, but they're beautiful colors too. Look at that. Oh my gosh. But again, I'm not super drawn to this bright of a color, but I can add a little bit of brown or gray to it, and it just tones it down a bit. But it's a beautiful color, and it can sometimes just be that hit that you need. Much more so, along the same lines of the green gold. Obviously, the Titan Green Pale, that's a whole different thing. These two are a little more vibrant. Now, here talking of vibrant, quinacridone nickel azo gold. They don't make this anymore. They now make something called nickel. I think it's just called azo gold or nickel azo or something like that. I haven't never bought it yet. I have hoarded a few tubes of this and bottles. I have it in the bottle form as well. And for a while I wasn't using it because they didn't have it anymore. But now I'm kind of like, I love this color. It's like an orange-ish, reddish. Isn't that something? Yeah. Anyway, I love this color, and you wouldn't think so because it is bright, and but it's also has a little bit of grunge to it or something. It's a lovely color. Okay, and the last one is this Naples yellow hue, and this might seem like an odd choice, and probably it is, but I've been using it a lot, mixing it in. It's a pretty color. It's a little boring, but it is great mixed in, particularly with a blue, because you can get some great shades of green. So I have been using it a lot, so I felt like I needed to include that, even though this color may be the most boring of the group. Well, this one might be kind of considered boring, but I think it's a unique shade, and you could definitely use it on its own. This one is a little flatter, and I don't know that I would use this by itself, but it is a little bit brighter than my other more neutral colors. Now, I wanted to bring across, because these are the 5 favorites right now that I've been using the most, I wanted to bring out these other ones that, of course, I love. The oxide family, yellow oxide, red oxide, and chromium oxide green. These I absolutely love. I did not feel like I wanted to bring those up as my favorites because almost any color, green, yellow, red, it's to some degree, if you added raw umber or gray or even a hint of black, you could dull them down and have them be kind of more on the oxide family. So I didn't bring those in because I felt like it was a little bit redundant. You can mix those, something similar yourself. These are brighter. You can't really mix these. They add that pop of color that I think I'm kind of trying to get. So that's why I didn't bring in the oxide colors, because I do gravitate towards those because they're an easy grab versus something like this. Sometimes it's a little bit much. But these have been some exciting choices, and I think they're really elevating my art in terms of adding a little bit more contrast. So, okay, that is the 5 favorite brighter colors that I've been using recently. Next up are my non-paintbrush options for moving paint around. So I have, and I'm going to show you a little bit how I use them. A catalyst wedge, different kinds of brayers, and this is actually a mini, kind of paint roller, and which is what a brayer is, I guess. Palette knives and color shapers. The most unusual one I'm going to show you is a paper towel. I use that in a couple different ways, but I want to demo how I use these ones. I'm going to set these aside. Obviously, you saw me with the palette knife. and I'll just kind of put a dab of paint down. I'm just using a Payne's Gray, and let's grab this palette knife right here. And you can smooth it with the palette knife, obviously, get a very nice smooth finish. You can dig in with the palette knife. There's just a lot of things you can do with it. I just love it for everything from mixing paint to actually, just applying the paint, putting it over a rough surface, and then digging back into it to pull paint off, so you have thicker and thinner areas. So I love palette knives, and I have them in a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes, because for smaller, for larger, it's really great. So, okay, I'm gonna show you the next one, and I just gotta thinking about it. I think I'm gonna use different, well, I'll stick with the same color. I was gonna try to use a different color, but let's just stick with that since that's what we have here. Okay, next up, I wanna show you how I use a color shaper. And I don't always put the paint onto the page first. Sometimes I have it off on a palette, and then I'd go and scrape it off. And I'm gonna use a smaller one just for the sake of this page here. Again, it's similar to a palette knife, but the silicone edge is different, and it just, I don't know, until you have it in your hand, it's hard to describe. It just is a completely different tool, and it can do different things. And that probably is making zero sense, but it can scrape paint similar to a palette knife, but it doesn't have that the sharper edge. So this, like, I can't dig into this as much with this silicone wedge, but there are other things that I can do. Now, mind you, these pages this is just an art journal, it's not gessoed or anything like that. So the paint is kind of sinking in and drying, and it's a warm day and it's drying a little bit quicker, but applying the paint, obviously there's different widths that they might even come in more widths than this. So you can get stripes of different sizes, or I like to use it a lot of times after I have paint on, I pull paint back off. So for example, let me grab this, let me just grab a lighter color. So let's say I'm putting a lighter color over the top, and I want to scrape back off of that. I can do that. It's not, yeah. There's just a lot you can do, and in a different way than with a catalyst wedge. So I love these. I have them in obviously 3 different sizes. As you can see from this one, it's well loved. It's chipped on the end, and I kind of like that as a different effect. I'm pretty hard on my tools, but I feel like I use what I have, and so I use, and then if I need to get some new ones, then I do that. I feel justified. If I'm really using something. It's when something looks pristine that maybe not so much. So, okay. The next one I want to show you is obviously just a brayer. I'll just pull this one over. Usually you'd brayer off onto the side, but I'm just going to, and unfortunately this book is it's just a different way to apply paint in a roller fashion. A lot of times these are used for jelly plates. You can apply the paint easily. This is not the book is not open exactly in the middle, so it's not applying the paint as evenly. But again, you could not get that with a brush or with with these other tools, the palette knife or the color shaper. So it is fun. You could get something like this, then paint around it or something. I like using brayers for that, and a lot of times I forget to use it, but I do have it. I do have them sitting right on my desk, and they are one of my primary tools. But sometimes I forget. So a really beloved tool is my catalyst wedge, which is dearly loved and dearly used. I'm going to apply some right here, and again, it's the silicone. And I'll peel a little bit off here for you. It's constantly in a state of needing to be cleaned. It's similar but different. It feels good in your hand, and it's like a scraper, like you would use almost like in a baking or something. But it's different than using the color shaper. They all work in different ways, and I love them for different things. And it's not just because it's wider, because there are wider color shapers. It's just, I just don't know how to describe it. Love it. I just love it so much. So, and again, this might not be the best example. A lot of times when I'm spreading large amounts of paint, on a canvas or something like that, it just adds something different. And then if I have some texture, it doesn't push down into the texture, so it glides across. So it just adds a really unique Another unique, highly recommended, highly recommended. Well, all three of those and the brayer too are highly recommended. Now here's an interesting one. I'm just going to grab this little piece here. The way I often use this, a lot of people use this, and I don't do this. They put paint on and then they roll it. They might roll it off like this, and they pull off. I don't think any of this is dry or wet. So let's put a little bit on. I don't do this, but I'm showing it in demonstration because a lot of people do it. Okay, let's say we have our paint here, and they want to roll a little bit off. So you just use your paper toweling, and it just kind of rubs it off. And like in this case, it kind of leaves a slight texture, and you can add that wherever. Now it is a cool technique. I don't typically do that. I don't know. It is cool though. But so I want to point that out. So that is an option with this. Typically, the way I use it is if I'm doing a glaze, and let me grab my, let's say I'm gonna spray, this may not work quite as well, but if I'm gonna glaze over the top of something, I'm always reaching for, I don't like to use a lot of paper towels in general because I don't like the waste, but there are times when you do need it. So, okay, so let's say I'm glazing over this because I want, which does look pretty cool, right? But so glaze, I'm putting this on, but then I want to pull a little bit of it off. And so I would let me get it wet over here. Sorry about that. I got it too wet. I'm off camera here. Okay, I'm gonna dry it off a little bit. Then I would use this to kind of pull some of it off. Now, obviously on a different substrate that's primed, I could probably pull a little bit more of it off. But again, you can see this can be super handy in getting and moving around paint, particularly if you're using it as a wash. So yeah, so there's that. And that's why those more transparent colors are beautiful in creating a wash, because they show the other color coming through the bottom, and you can see both layers, and it's just really a very lovely thing. So again, my non-paintbrush tools for applying paint, color shapers, palette knives, brayers, catalyst wedge, and paper towels. Okay, let's go on to the next one. These are my current 5 favorite non-paint pigments that I use fairly frequently. And I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna put the Stabilo all and the charcoal pencil in this as one. They're different, as I'll show you here. But well, they don't look that different here on this non-gessoed surface. But let me grab a little bit of water. Yeah, it's not moving around very good. This is on a gessoed surface. Well, there you go. You can see the Stabilo all tends to be darker and than the charcoal pencil. And we're on this surface, you can kind of see the difference. But I use them a lot of times for when I'm starting a portrait or something. I like to sketch out with one of these two tools, and I just like the color, and I like that they're water soluble, and it just, I don't know, I like both of them equally, so I'm considering them one. These are not in any particular order, just kind of, I'll go around the horn here. These pencils I love, these graphite, I think they're Lyra pencils. They're some are water soluble, some are not. Let's grab a water soluble one just so you can see if I can, they're so used, can't tell, non-water soluble. Okay, let's try this one. And there's different colors of these as well, based on, if it's a 9B or is this a 9B? Maybe. So I'll try not to shake that table, but I will put a little water on it. You can see it's beautiful on its own. It's beautiful when you add water. So, and this one is actually pretty dark, but they're really great to use. And I like the chunkiness and the thickness of them. It just gives you a completely different effect from using a pencil. And I would gravitate towards this before I would use a pencil, actually. So I don't use pencils very much, but I do use them. Okay, so another favorite are these Derwent extra large charcoal blocks. You can see they're well loved. The colors, the black especially is down to, I don't even think that's the black one. I think that actually is over in a different box. That's a graphite. The black is down to this tiny little piece, so I need to get a new one. The yellow, obviously I use a lot. This is, I think, is a green. But let me just show you a few of their colors. I don't need to show you the black, but look at how luscious that is. I mean, if you can use your finger just to blend it in, or let me grab this. If you want to use water to mix it, they're beautiful. The pigment is just beautiful. Let's do the yellow as well. Look at that. Oh, so cool. They're very similar to a soft pastel, but they kind of have this undertone, different color undertone. Okay, and we'll do the red one. These are my three, besides the black, are my three favorite colors, the ones I use the most. So, and they are messy, so if you don't like messy stuff, this is probably not for you, but I simply love them. So, all right. So there are those. Now next up, I have these two bins off to the side. I think I'll start with the soft pastels because my hands are already gunky. I'm gonna show you the full box. I keep them in a cigar box, and I have this massive, I had gotten a new raft of them, and I just have them all in there, even though sometimes it's like, it's a little overwhelming and there's a lot of colors I'm not drawn to. So that is the one thing about buying in a set. There typically are colors that you don't use as often. So I'm gonna grab a couple. I'm always gravitating towards these kind of colors, and I don't know what color it is, but I just say, luscious and yummy and delightful. Okay, let's do a couple of those. So I just love soft pastels for, you can use them underneath on top. They work well with acrylics. You can seal them if you don't want them. They will move, obviously with water, they're water soluble, but you can seal them with a sealant and then go on to your next layer. And it looks like that one is gonna drip. So I'm gonna grab a rag. And let's do one more color. Let's do a blue. And these happen to be the Unison, but I do like that brand really well. And let's see what else is in here. I also really like, I think these are the Sennelier. Yeah. So they just have, they're very soft, but they move around, and the pigment is really great. And that's why I particularly like those over other ones. So the next non-paint item that I like are in another cigar box, are oil pastels. And that's they're not these are not water soluble, although I suppose there are some that are. And I do have, these are the Sennelier, and they are just, most of them are Sennelier, I think. Oh, these are Neo Pastel. So I actually went through and I swatched all of these different oil pastels, and I got rid of the ones that I just didn't like the feel of, the way that they moved on the paper or didn't move. So there's those, and you can blend those, obviously with something other than your finger if you want, but they move around. I've done some different portraits and things with them. They can be a final touch. They also can be sealed with a spray sealant or something. But these are my favorite. I mean, I keep these I'm stuttering over my words. I'm so excited. I keep these really close at hand. I reach for them. I gravitate towards these when I'm not using paint, or when I want to use something under paint or over paint or with paint, because I like mixed media. I like incorporating these favorite things. And they have been my favorites for a long time. And I'm not talking here specific colors or anything like that, just the tools or the non-paint items that I gravitate towards. So anyway, I would highly recommend any of these things to you. They're really fun to mess around with. But definitely just, again, it's more important to just use what you have rather than run out and buy, a bunch of new supplies that you don't use. So, but these are fun. If you are interested in any of them, I would highly recommend all of them. To show you and demo you quickly my 5 favorite mark making tools, I'm going to just use this Art Journal page, but I'm going to put some black paint down so that when you scrape through, you'll be able to kind of see what I'm going to put it on pretty heavy. And like I said, it's warm here today, which is unusual for June, Seattle in June, but it's a warm day, and so paint is drying really quick. So I'm going to put this on as thick as I can, and then hopefully I can demo this really quick. Okay. So one of my first, are these pottery tools. I've bought several sets of them. They're used for pottery to make marks and designs, but I use them, and there's all different ones, and I'm counting them as one because there's different things. It's just the lines and the things. Okay, I thought you'd be able to see. Maybe you can kind of see that. Is just amazing. You can write into stuff. You can drag the paint even out. I use these well, and I use them a lot. And that's why I have so many of them, because I'm just constantly grabbing them. And then of course I forget to clean them, and then the ends get completely gunked up, and so it's a bigger mark. And anyway, they're awesome. So I would highly recommend, if you don't have any tools that you love, that maybe get a small set of these. I mean, I think they're like $6 or $7 on Amazon, and you can have like 4 or 5 different tools, and they're really fun and great to use. Okay, so that's not showing up as much as I had hoped, but that's okay. Okay, I'm gonna just do a small section now. Maybe that will be better. And okay, so oddly enough, where do I use my tools? I use them, my pencils, more as mark making tools. So I like to make words and draw with them almost more than I use them just in a traditional way. So pencils are a constant because they always usually have a tip. Sometimes they add the graphite outside the paint, which I like. They're just a great mark making tool. Okay, next up is just your basic twig. This twig I guess I have used. They get gunked up really fast, and so I'm constantly having to go get new twigs, but we have trees all over the place here, so they make a mark that's maybe a little bit more random, which is just awesome. And they're free, and they're outside, and this one just broke, and then now you have another part. So it's just all different ways to make lines and marks in your paint. And so twigs are definitely, you can get thick, thin, all the ones. You're just walking along your sidewalk, there they are. Okay, I'm running out of room here, but that's okay. We can use this. This is something new, and I'm not 100% sure where. I have a couple of these, and I don't know if they came with my pottery tools. I think so, they look kind of similar, but I had thrown them in a drawer and I wasn't using them at all. And now I love using them because they look at this, isn't that so cool? I just never thought to use them. They make this, I love them. It's just like the coolest mark, and I don't know what this is. I'm guessing it came with the pottery tools because it looks the same. I had tucked it away, and now it's like my new favorite because it makes such cool marks. So I'm gonna tuck that back in there, but I put it as separate because it's not the same as just poking into something with these different tips. This is like a whole different look. So I didn't want to include it with those. Okay, so last up, and I'm not going to add any more paint because I don't think that's gonna help. This you can scrape with, this Bondo tool, but I typically don't scrape with it. I use it more for making marks, and then oftentimes I'll get the paint, so you get your paint from your palette, you can make the marks into there, but then you can also make lines and marks with this that are very thin and actually just, I don't know, really, I just think it makes great lines. And so I like it more for that than I do the scraping quality. This came in a set of, let me grab them over here, 3. I really use the big one. Well, I use all of them, I guess, but I like the big one for the long marks it makes, and more so than for the actual scraping. So those are my current favorite mark making tools. Here are my favorite mark making, kind of texture making tools that are free, that you would never pay for because you really, I don't know, maybe you could buy these, I don't know. So I'm just going to show you what I find interesting about them and talk about kind of what they are. So I'm going to start with your most basic one. Actually, let's put a little paint over here, and let me grab a paintbrush even so that I can apply some paint on that. So lids, any and every lid can be made into obviously a tool to apply paint. This is actually the top of like a liquid NyQuil or something like that. So even just any top of anything. But for the sake of size wise, I'm going to just show you, demo this one. And I'm sure all of you have done this, but it's just a reminder, like, to go around and find the things that you already have. Because I feel like we often think we need to go buy something, when really, if we are open our eyes, we can go, oh wow, that would make a really cool mark. And there you have it. So if you're looking to make some circles or some marks like this, I would suggest having a few in every size, because it is kind of nice to have a variety. And I have even more. I just kind of grabbed a few out of this bin that I keep things in. Let's use this card next. This is just, you get from a hotel when you're checking in or checking out or whatever. A lot of people use these to scrape paint. I don't typically use these for that. You could, but I typically use them when I want lines, kind of similar to the Bondo tool that I was showing you earlier. I just like them because it's free. The Bondo tools comes in different sizes, which this doesn't. It's like a old credit card or something, but free is good. So free is something that some of the times you can just find these kind of things. They come in the mail. They're not maybe the full-on credit card, but they're maybe made of cardboard or something. But it's just a resource that you already have that you're just throwing in the garbage. So I would suggest, again, rethink a lot of the free stuff that you already have. Okay, so I don't know if any of you get pedicures, and a lot of times they put these in between your toes. Not always. Sometimes they don't. But if they do, you walk out with them, or you throw them in the garbage, and they make a cool pattern. And honestly, I kind of ebb and flow with different patterns that I use, but these are the ones lately that I've been reaching for. And again, you can, I didn't do that one very good, did I? That's okay. For me, often it's not, getting it perfectly done anyway. I like just the imperfection of however that looks. But it makes a unique mark that you can't get any other way, and it's kind of like a foam stamp. So these are super cool. I wish there was more things like this that I could find, because they're easy to use, and when they get too gunked up, you can throw them away. But I was like, what else can I use that has foam that you could use as a pattern or a shape? So anyway, if any of you know of any other ideas, let me know. So this was a tray of candy, these little toffee things I love from Trader Joe's, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should try using the bottom of this. So lately, a few times I've used the bottom, and I really like the marks that it makes, which goes to show you really have to rethink, because this would just have been thrown out. Now, not all of you probably are buying the same candy as I am, but if you buy anything with packaging, look at it closely before you throw it away. I'm just gonna do the top part, but yeah, sometimes I can get that number if I press down, which I think is really fun. You can see it a little bit better there. So yeah, anyway, just something to think about. You, as your food items just might have something. Okay, so lastly, I'm not sure what we got packaged, but maybe it was my grandson's bike. Anyway, it had a lot of little pieces to it that needed to be put together. And they had all these little boxes. And I was like, oh, they're so cute. What should I do with it? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to use it as a stamp on the back. I could use either side. I could use this side or this side. I pretty much only use this side. And it doesn't always stamp perfectly, but it's fun to get a shape. Again, just making marks. It's a free item, and obviously the packaging that we receive, whether it's cardboard things or styrofoam and different things like that, often lend itself to some cool patterns and shapes that we can use that we aren't thinking of. And so I'm trying to really think outside the box, literal box here, and use the things that I have. So when I see something like this, I think, I'll throw it in my little bin, and then I'll try it a few times and see if I actually like it. If not, I just toss it. But at least I've I'm trying to reuse things that I already have versus, buying something specific to make, to make something. What I mean by that is, I think it would be tricky to recreate these in any way, shape, or form, but you could buy stencils or something, or a stamp, an actual stamp that did something similar. So, but if you want something irregular and unusual, then I would definitely hunt down things in your home that you already have and see what you can do. Just do what I did, just to kind of experiment on a piece of paper or an art journal or sketchbook and see what happens, and then say, oh, I like all of them, but maybe not the box, or I don't like circles, or whatever it is that you happen to not want to use, and just keep the ones that you like. So anyway, I hope you have found this helpful, as I've shared, and inspirational in terms of kind of gotten your creative juices flowing, because often we don't think about things, and I'm not talking just specifically about these free items, but all of the favorites that I've shared. It just kind of gets us thinking, oh, have I tried that? I should do that. What do I have that's similar? And that is really what I want to do, is to encourage you to use what you have. And then if you do want to buy or get something new, that you really just get that one thing and then try it and see how it goes. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.